Crane Yarns knitting podcast. My name is Ashley and I am the dyer behind Paper Crane Yarns, and I also own a yarn store. We are located in Central Alabama, USA, also called Paper Crane Yarns, and this is my somewhat regular video podcast all about knitting primarily, yarn dyeing and quilting sometimes, just kind of your standard knitting podcast format. I am recording on the evening of Wednesday, September 20th, 2023, which means we are 1 month away from Rhinebeck weekend. I'm so excited. Yeah, it's kind of nice to record in the evening when maybe I'm not as wired on caffeine as I normally would be, but the daycare that's open beside my shop, you might hear some foot traffic and things. I don't usually record anymore during their business hours. I try to record on the weekends when they're closed to avoid the noise. But so you can find my shop at papercraneyarns.com, and you can also find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Paper Crane Yarns. We do have a Ravelry group that's associated with my podcast and my shop, and so you're welcome to join over there if you'd like. You can find show notes below in the description of this video, and if you have any questions for me, feel free to message me via Instagram or leave a comment, and I'll do my best to get back to it soon. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about what I've been knitting, and we'll start with my finished objects. So finished object number 1, this is a continuation from my from last time. I finished my Tuku. This is a pattern by ThePetiteKnitter, and it was designed in Tukuwool, which is a Finnish wool brand, and hence the name Tuku. So I used the same yarn. I actually copied the designer's sample with my colorway choices too. So yeah, I love this sweater. This is the Tukuwool, and this is 100% Finnish wool, 250 meters to 100 grams. So this is the DK weight, and this colorway is Nila, and my contrast color is Saki. Yeah, so hopefully it's coming across well with the lighting and everything. But this is a top-down construction. It's a top-down yoked, colorwork yoked construction pullover, and as you can see, it has this high ribbing neckline. It has this gorgeous colorwork motif before you split for the arms, and then you have kind of a shorter cropped body, and I knit mine with full-length sleeves, and I did the cropped option. So of course you could adjust this to be a longer in the body, shorter in the sleeves, what have you. And I knit this out of the recommended needle size. I did get gauge with the needle size. I did not go up a needle for my color work because this is a non-superwash wool. This is a very woolly wool, so it tends to, in my opinion, it's a little bit more flexible and it sticks together really well. And so although I do often go up for color work, I didn't with this project, and I think it turned out beautifully. What else? I believe this is the size 3, and yeah, I believe this is the size 3. I'll have all of my specific notes down below, with kind of modified sleeves. So as often happens with me, I should have maybe knit one size smaller. After I modified the sweater, I got it to work for the size that I knit and my body, but I do think that I maybe should have just gone down one size. However, it was pretty easy to modify once so initially, where I was at last time was I had just started the body, and I was very hopeful. I thought it was going really well, and it was, because it's beautiful, but I unfortunately proceeded to knit the body too long. So within the couple of days after finally getting that episode up, I had to, I had bound off with the body completely. I did a tubular bind off and everything, and I ended up having to rip out many inches from the body. So I will try to insert a photo up here, this sort of unflattering photo of the way that the sweater looked when I first bound off, and I had even blocked it because I really wanted to be sure that I was not happy with it. I figured if I had already gone through all of that work, I might as well just do the extra step of blocking it to be sure. And yeah, without a doubt, it was too long. It wasn't flattering, and it didn't sort of match the shaping that the designer had and the way that she styled it, which was what I was going for, because I'm hoping that this can be one of my Rhinebeck sweaters this year, although it's quite warm, so we'll have to see if it's cool enough to wear it. So yeah, I ripped out a couple inches of the body, which was a little bit of a nightmare because of the tubular bind off. I won't even go into the details, but taking that out was not fun. So I just ripped back, again, quite a few inches until I got to where I wanted the ribbing to start. And so I picked up all my stitches and I just knit the couple of inches of ribbing, maybe 2 inches, and then I did another tubular bind off and the body was done. And then with the sleeves, I was going for the bracelet length sleeve, but because of the size that I chose, I felt like there's too much fabric here, and it's not as bad now that I've tapered it, but when it was still, the way that the decreases were spaced out, the sleeve was pretty wide, pretty far down, and so I ended up having to add a couple of extra decreases, and then I did like a rapid decrease right before the cuff, so I knit 2 together all the way around, and then I was left with very few stitches. So I knit a little bit of the ribbing, and then I tried it on to make sure it would go over my wrist, and it's perfect. So I was able to sort of adjust the wide sleeve by tapering at the cuff, and that's my finished tuku. So I'm really happy with it. I was not sure how I'd feel ultimately about the higher neckline, because I tend to think that that's not a very flattering look for me, but yeah, I like it. I think it will look okay. So for the yardage that I have 1 full skein of my main color left, and I had 4 originally, and then I have over half of the contrast left, so I'm saving that for another ThePetiteKnitter pattern that I think it'll probably be enough for that pattern when that one comes out. So I'm hoping, and so I'm gonna hold on to that. And then I have this skein, so I might actually make another ThePetiteKnitter pattern, one of her accessories, like her Ovis mittens or something like that. Yeah, and I would have had a little bit more than 1 full skein, but some of the yardage, it got a little bit lost to kind of a disaster when I was taking out the blocked sweater and, you know, the inches. And anyway, so that's a good bit of yarn left. And I wanted to show this hat because I think it's nice to see. Part of the benefit of these kinds of podcasts is to see how somebody would style something. And so this is what I'm planning on wearing with this sweater. It looks quite large and silly in this room, but I think it looks it makes more sense when you're like outdoors and not in such a tight space. But yeah, that is my my wool wide brimmed hat. My husband calls it my vlogger hat, which unfortunately I think is apt, even though it's kind of embarrassing. That's my tuku. Maybe I can stand up and show you the length a little bit if I haven't already inserted a photo, or maybe I'll have done both. So standing up, I thought of something I failed to mention, but this pattern, there are no short rows in my version, so it's exactly the same all the way around. There's no front or back necessarily, and there is an option. She does include instructions for including bust darts or kind of short rows in the front of the sweater if you want a front, if perhaps you need the extra space. And if I had knit the size 2, I would have added those, but because I had so much positive ease all the way around, I ended up not needing it, and it comes up higher, it comes up nice and cropped all the way around, and it looks pretty uniform because I have the extra fabric all the way around. So yeah, just to keep that in mind if you knit this. I would have added the short rows or like the extra fabric in the front of the sweater had I knit a size smaller. So if you're knitting a size that's maybe closer to like your upper bust circumference, then you might want to consider including those instructions. But yeah, I skipped that with this. So that's that. I'm going to drink a bit of my peppermint bark tea. I'm drinking, it's the Republic of Tea, and I think it's called peppermint bark. I got it on sale at the beginning of the year. Normally I'd be enjoying some coffee, but it's almost 5 o'clock, so I can no longer justify that. This is a green rooibos tea, or rooibos tea, and it has peppermint, of course, and I think it has maybe vanilla, and it's really nice. Okay, my next finished object is something very exciting, very beautiful. And this was something I was working on last time, but they are now complete. And these are my Moon River socks by Merryweather Knitting, who is Gabriella. She's here on YouTube. She's on Instagram. She's got a couple of patterns available on Ravelry, and I think maybe Etsy. I think she might add them also to Etsy, but I'll have her linked below. So yeah, these are her Moon River socks pattern. This is her new pattern, and I knit this out of my new Moon River colorway. I think the color is coming across really well right now with the lighting. Last time I think it was a little bit off, and the pictures I've taken, I think it's come out a little bit more like grassy green, but it's sort of a green gold colorway. And this is my blue-faced Leicester and nylon base, and I find that the BFL takes this colorway really, really well, especially compared to the merino. The merino I think is still gorgeous, but that's a little bit more on the yellow gold side, even with the same ratios of dyes. It's just because the BFL is naturally a little bit, it's just the way that it is in the natural skein compared to the merino. Something about it, it takes this particular dye in a different way. So anyway, that's enough on my colorway. Let's talk about her beautiful pattern. I have blocked these, so they're nice and just lovely. Let me try to show you. Okay, there we go. You can see the motif. So this stunning pattern has this gorgeous lace work down the center, and it is sort of it's framed by these columns of cables and twisted stitches. So stunning. And last time I recorded, I didn't mention because I couldn't recall if this was true or not, but this is a lace motif pattern that Gabriella completely designed, and that is so amazing. A lot of patterns that you see that incorporate things like lace, the designers often use sort of pre-established lace motifs and designs that others have created, and you can find them in things like stitch dictionaries, and that's perfectly fine and amazing because they're still having to adapt that pattern, that lace. And I mean, if lace exists, why not use it? But I just am so impressed that Gabriella came up with this. It's so beautiful, and it was such fun to knit. You know, sometimes with things like striped socks, you can't put it down because you want to keep getting to the next stripe and the next stripe. And this one, the motif is so many rows long, and it's hard to put it down because you just want to. Every row you're like, oh, I'm almost to the end. I can just complete this one, and then you keep going, and suddenly you have all of these motifs. So I should also mention this lovely heel that it's a little bit, it's a heel flap and gusset, but the stitch pattern is a little bit different than others that maybe you've tried, and it's very beautiful, and it matches all of the very you know, high level of detail in this pattern. I did, let's see, so I did 4 repeats to give you an idea of length, and maybe if you're going to hopefully knit yourself a pair, you'll know sort of how mine are. These come up really mid-calf. These are definitely longer socks, which is what I wanted. I did 4 repeats of the motif on the leg, and then I have exactly 3, is that right? 1, 2, 3. Oh, okay. I did 3 repeats on the leg. Each repeat is probably maybe 2 inches, 1.5 inches or so. And then I have 3 for the foot. So, goodness, 1, 2, 3. So I have 4 for the foot. I'll get this right eventually. And then I was able to go straight into my toe decreases. So yeah, these are just so beautiful. I test knit these for Gabriella before she released the pattern, and I was so grateful to be part of it. And also, Gabriella designed her original pattern in one of my colorways, in my Soleil colorway, so that was such an honor, and I knew I wanted to do as beautiful of a job as I could to celebrate this pattern. So I'm very excited to finally get to wear these, and just so beautiful. I don't know how you do it, Gabriella. So I hope you'll consider picking up this pattern if you are looking for some lovely socks to knit this fall. Okay, since we're on the topic of socks, I'll show you a half-finished object. This is my summer Stardew Valley sock. This is called Summer, the Sun Can Bend an Orange Sky. I think I got that right. And this pattern is by Oakwood Knits, who is Kim. I am doing her kind of year-long knit-along. She has a pattern for each of the seasons, and of course so far we've done spring and summer. Fall is starting in just a couple of days, which will kick off the knit-along, and I'm very excited. I have all of my yarn ready to go to start on the fall socks. So I did not complete this in the time frame of the official knit-along because I have been doing a lot of test knits this past summer, and I've been working on a gift knit, and then I had my Rhinebeck sweater, and just I've been a busy knitting bee. So I've been really wanting to clear off some of my needles and just get some stuff done. I don't usually have this many projects going at a time, and especially things that are just unfinished and just not being touched. So I finally worked on this one, and it took, you know, when I last left you, I had just knit through the corn. So I was just here through the corn, and then the rest of this took like a day. So I was just putting it off. But I have not knit the second one. I'm going to save that for potentially next summer, but if I catch up on everything, I'll knit it sooner. Let me put it up close so you can get some of these details. So if you're familiar with Stardew Valley, then you'll definitely be able to recognize all of the motifs here. This one is my favorite, and I like the fish a lot. But I think actually this one little section with the white is the most impressive detail to me, because it made the water look so realistic. Just that little bit of sort of the sea foam washing up on the shore. So beautiful. But yeah, she has such an incredible eye for design, and I can't wait to see what else she comes up with. She has some Zelda patterns. If you love Zelda, she's got a couple, she's got a pattern of those. She has a Zelda pattern. And of course, like I said, all 4 seasons from Stardew Valley, and she's got some other beautiful designs as well. And she's also just started dyeing yarns, so you should definitely check out her gorgeous yarn. Apparently she can do it all. She's incredible with designing and dyeing yarn. So yeah, and I have actually, I think I kicked the camera, so I probably just moved you. I have my spring socks sitting right here, actually. I love them, but I'm ready for the fall socks because they have chickens on them, and they're you know, a warm autumnal palette, so they're going to be a lot of fun to knit. And that we cast those on, I think on the 23rd. I think that's the first day of fall this year, which is this Saturday. And I'm actually going to Comic-Con that day, so I'm not sure if I'll get to cast on right away, but if not then Sunday. Okay, my next stunning finished object. This was a mystery knit along. This was Casapinka's mystery shawl knit along for 2023, and it is called Sharon on the Trail. I love Casapinka's whole, like the whole concept behind her designs, and Sharon from Security, and if you know, you know. If you're not familiar with Casapinka, which you should definitely check out maybe her Ravelry group, and it's a lot of fun. She's definitely got a very spunky personality. But I did her shawl knit along. So this started back in July, on July 21st, I believe, and I cast on right away, and I knit through the first week of clues, and then I didn't touch it, and it's a 6-week long knit along. But I knit the first week and then I didn't touch it, and I got so overwhelmed. But then, and I'll talk about this briefly later, but the Stephen West mystery knit along is coming up in October, his annual knit along, and I've done it the past 2 years. I've sworn up and down all year I will not be doing it again, and it turns out I have no willpower. So that said, I knew I needed to finish the current mystery knit along. Otherwise, I would not allow myself to do the Stephen West. So it turns out this is one of the most beautiful things I've ever knit, in my humble opinion. And of course, that's all the pattern, and then the color choices just worked out so beautifully. So when I last left you, I was considering ripping it out, actually, because I wasn't in it very far. I was kind of worried that I wasn't going to enjoy the knit. Even though I wasn't knitting it, I was looking at each clue as it was coming out. And you know, that's the tricky thing about mystery knit alongs. Most of the ones I've done, I've been very in love with, and I've just gone through and just trusted the designer. But this one, I was looking at it and I didn't think I would enjoy it. Anyway, long story short, I'm really glad I stuck with it because now I love it. And I'm not wearing something suitable to show it off, but I did take a couple of pictures, so I will include those somewhere up here. And you're probably thinking, just show me. So I'll do my best to show you here. It's just gorgeous and drapey, and the color palette is so beautiful. I was going for sort of a romantic nautical kind of theme, and I think it worked out really well. So here I have my yarns. I did weigh these, and I have all of the yardage amounts that I used listed in my Ravelry below. So I don't have those numbers in front of me, but I can show you. So let's see, my color A was this beautiful blue with subtle blue and green speckles, and this is called Roaring 20s from Yarnaceous Fibers. I bought this as a mystery skein, actually, at the end of last year, so I guess it was suitable for the mystery knit along. My color B, which I only have this little bit left, this is Camp Crystal Lake on the Merino Singles base. I can't think of what she calls this base, but this is the Lambstring yarns. Yeah, I love this. This is the only one that was a Merino Singles. Everything else is like a Merino nylon blend. but the color was so beautiful, I really wanted to add it, and so I did. Now color C, I love this color. This is Natural Light by Yarnaceous Fibers, and I've talked about this before. And I feel like it's probably funny to be like, oh, this is just such a beautiful yarn. Not to say that white yarn isn't beautiful, but you think of hand-dyed yarn and the thought of, you know, as a dyer, there's so many things you can do with yarn. So the thought of spending hand-dyed yarn money on basically a white yarn probably seems silly. But as I said last time, this is not how the yarn comes. This is dyed. So this is this nice, cool, creamy white shade. It's stunning in person, and these bases are sort of yellow. They're a little bit more yellow. Some of them can be pretty white, but anyway, this is just a radiant color that she dyed. And then my color D is also Lambstrings, so it alternated between Yarnaceous and Lambstrings, and this is Victorian. And it's just a subtle mauve with very tiny gold speckles. That was my palette. And I currently have it in this bag with, this is one of the project bags that I made from my back collection with bats and moths and ferns. So again, this is just beautiful. I feel like I just can't do it justice. I'll try to wear it in a future episode. Yesterday, my outfit would have been perfect for this, and I was planning on recording, and then I ended up not getting to, so I was hoping to show this off better, but it's, yeah, so beautiful. There were a lot of picked up stitches. It was a lot of picking up stitches, and so it wasn't just like a straightforward knit. We started here, going this way, and then we picked up stitches here, and we knit. Then we knit this lengthwise. So we knit down to here. And let's see, I think I bound off here. And then she has you go and pick up on the sides to do this garter edging. It's a border that goes around. And then you kind of pick up like these cat ears on the end. So this whole section was picked up. And then this section, which is actually, I think, my favorite, it's gorgeous, was picked up, but I love the way that my colors played here. And the stitch pattern is really pretty. So it's very beautiful. I plan on wearing this mostly like a wrap, but you could wear it like a traditional sort of shawl where you wrap it around your neck. So yeah, I hope you enjoy the pictures and that they come through and well and kind of give you an idea of how I'll style this. Okay, and that is that for finished objects. Thank goodness, because I need to move it along and I still have a lot to show you. So I do have quite a few works in progress that I'm going to show today. This isn't everything I've been working on, but this is everything that I've devoted my sincere time to these past few weeks. So I will start with a very exciting project, and this one is so exciting because it's my first time knitting with my Handspun. I showed this skein that I spun last time. It's a 2-ply. I spun it on my shocked ladybug, my wheel, and then I also plied it with my lazy Kate on my wheel. It's from one of my, I'll call them my friend. This is from Maddie, who is Sherwood Fiber Arts. They are a local dyer to me, and we've sold at like a couple of shows together. Actually, sneak peek of some fiber I bought at the last show we did together. So yeah, I bought this Rambouillet. It's 100% Rambouillet back in June for Worldwide Knit in Public Day, and then my wheel got here shortly after. I spun it up right away, and now I've knitted up right away. So this is the Avena pattern by Jennifer Steingass, and it's a worsted weight pattern. It's a top-down color work yoke. This is size 1 in the pattern. I've knit one of her patterns before, Aurealis, and it's beautiful, but it's really too big for me. And so I just jumped straight into this pattern, knitting the smallest size, because I think I knit the size 3 with the Aurealis, and I knew that I could afford to go down multiple sizes, so I didn't swatch or anything. I just thought I will start knitting this up and just see what it looks like now that I finally can kind of conceptualize when I'm knitting something if I think it's going to work for me or not. And so thankfully this worked out. Now it's kind of hard to see, I think, because of the lighting I'm in right now. I'll try to include some pictures. But this whole yoke, all these bumpy little strands, this is my Handspun. This was Maddie's Antique Mauve colorway. And I am so in love with how this knit up. I think that the nature of this being my first Handspun, with all of these sort of places where it was thick and thin, just looked gorgeous in this design. So Jennifer Steingass designed this to be a 2-color fade with the color work, and I just went with the one because I knew that that's the multiple color yarn and it was going to have lots of texture, and so I'm really happy that I did that. And as you can see, there's no collar, like no ribbing. It's a rolled, unfinished sort of neckline. I was kind of apprehensive about that because my other knit that I completed from her had that also, and I ended up not really liking it, but I thought because this was the smaller size, maybe it would fit well, and I knew if I needed to, I could go back in and pick up stitches and knit a short collar, but I think I'll leave it as is. I just finished blocking this actually, so I know exactly how the body fits and the yoke and everything, and it's just beautiful. It's exactly what I was hoping for. So my main color, which is quite dark right now on the screen, it's dark in person, but it's definitely a little bit brighter than what you see. This is my Swamp Lore colorway. So it is a particular shade of like blue-green, and then it's over dyed with black. So you get lots of depth. Hopefully that's catching the variegation pretty well. So I thought that would be a really lovely color to pair with this sort of moody blue and purple and cream Handspun. I'll have this one done next time and we'll hopefully wear it, but I am really very happy with how this is going. This yoke is just beautiful. I should mention so I had about 96 grams, I think. I said last time, but my finished Handspun skein, I think I had about 96 grams all said and done. I started out with a little over 100 grams, so I guess a little bit of singles are left on the bobbin, and I had a little bit of like fluff and things that I had to pull off as I went, something maybe I overspun or what have you. So it was almost 100 grams and it almost worked just perfectly. So the only thing I missed out on were the last 2 rows of the colorwork chart, but those rows were very simple. They were sort of just, I know that the last row, it was only one for every repeat. It was like only 1 stitch in that color, and it just kind of elongated the point, but I think that this is not missing it. In hindsight, what I could have done was taken my singles off of the one bobbin, and I could have either just held them double and just finished out the last 2 rows, or I could have quickly plied a very small ball of yarn and I could have used that, but by the time I realized I still had the singles, I was well into the body. So yeah, it's just ready for sleeves. Kind of like with the Tuku, the body took me a couple of attempts. I could have knit this 10 times over at this point, or really 3. I was so gung-ho with casting this on that when I was picking my yarns that I had just dyed, I didn't take the time to really compare the skeins to one another, and I didn't alternate my main color in the yoke, because so much of the yoke is really just this, so I didn't think that these little spaces would make that much of a difference. But the other skeins that I had of my hand-dyed yarn, some of them came from, so I had 2 batches because I was testing out 2 of my colorways, and that's why I was using the yarn for myself. Anyway, one of the batches came out more of like a much brighter green, a much brighter version with higher variegation and contrast, whereas the second version, the second dye lot came out a lot darker. And so when I first cast on I used one entire skein for the yoke. So when I started with the second skein, it was like this hard line of yoke and body, and it seemed like it was far too dark. So I knit a couple inches to test it out, and I just decided I couldn't live with it. So I ripped it all back out to the yoke, and then I joined the next skein, and it was too bright, and I thought, nope, this is fine. I'm not ripping it out again. It's going to work. I did even more inches than the first time, and I knew I couldn't live with it. And since this is such a special project, I was like, it's worth fixing. So I took it out again, and then the third skein was the charm. So the third one matched the best with the yoke, without me having to alternate skeins or anything. It's still a little bit different, and you can kind of see, but I think it's well enough. I don't have to worry about it. If I was to do this all over from the beginning, I would just use this darker dye lot for everything, because I think in the yoke I must have picked the darkest from the first dye lot, which were still lighter than the second dye lot. So anyway, that's that. But yeah, that's my Avena, and I'll have this done next time. So my next whip is another sweater. This one I just cast on a couple of days ago. So 2 weekends ago, I vended on September 9th. I was closed at my store because I was vending at Fiber Frenzy, which is like an annual meetup for the Greater Birmingham Fiber Guild. And they invited me to come and sell my yarns. And Maddie from Sherwood Fiber Arts was there selling their fiber and yarns and plushies. So at the event, they set up a room of free things, and I have plenty, so I was not even going to take a look in there, but goodness, I got the camera again. So near the end of the day, before I packed up my stuff, I decided to peek into the room, and everything was mostly gone. There was a lot of books left, but there were 6 balls of yarn sitting on the table, and again, I waited till like the end of the day, and nobody was going to take it, it seemed. And there was a rule, like anything you brought to give away, if it didn't go home with somebody else, it had to go home with you. So I thought I would just take these, and I'm so glad that I did, because then a pattern came out a couple days ago, and it was perfect for these yarns. So I'm knitting the Totally Tubular Turtleneck by Park and Knit, and I was planning on knitting this anyway when she first started talking about the pattern. But I was going to use Sadness Garn Coast, which is a blown alpaca yarn that I carry here in my shop, and it would be the perfect yarn for this sweater. So I plan on maybe making a second one at a later time using Coast. But this yarn, again, was perfect. So let me show you. It's currently in one of my project bags. I quilted this one and made this one for the Anna Johanna mystery knit along earlier this year, the bug sweater. So I don't have the balls of yarn to show me. I only have 2 left that are not worked up. And oh, I don't have the yarn band. I will put it on the screen what this is. From my little bit of investigation that I did, this was a Joann exclusive yarn, and I think it was manufactured and sold in stores in like 2007 or so. When I was looking on Ravelry to see if anybody was destashing it in case I needed more, it looked like everybody was stashing it on Ravelry back in like 2007, I think. So it's been a good while. So this was in somebody's stash for a long time, I think. So I'm glad that I was able to work it up and turn it into something really fun. Oh, it looks so marshmallowy on the screen. Oh my goodness. So this yarn is a merino cotton and I think maybe nylon blend, but it's largely merino and cotton percentage. And the yarn, it's so large. Each stitch is so huge. I can't wait to block this because I think it's really going to even out well. When I kind of pull on this, you can see how that fabric just sort of melts together. So I'm very excited to block this now that I just finished the body today. Although I'll just go ahead and knit the sleeves since they should be short. I mean, long sleeves, but take a short time. So again, it's a turtleneck sweater. It's cropped. I was kind of laughing because I feel like I got accidental Chihiro vibes from Spirited Away. I have my Shihiro yarn behind me here. But I had 4 balls of this cream color and 2 of the lime. So I knew that the best option would probably be just to do some chunky stripes. And I ended up binding off in this green because I'm a little bit concerned about only having 1 ball of the white for each sleeve. So I initially wanted to do maybe half of an inch to an inch more and have it be in the cream color. But again, I didn't want to run out of the yarn and have to try to track some down since it's not made and it hasn't been for a long time. Oh, maybe I'll just pause this and try this on. Okay, now I feel like I'm like a squishy marshmallow. I'm gonna stand up and try to show you. So again, I can't wait to block it. I think it's going to look so nice after blocking. But this is the most comfortable sweater I have ever knit. It is really, really nice. I have to say, I really can't stand knitting at such a large gauge. It really hurts my hands. I much prefer like size 2, you know, US 2 needles, 3 needles. I think my comfort limit is like a US 6, so a 4mm. So I'm very excited to pick up and do my sleeves, hopefully tomorrow. This is a top-down raglan construction. I really love the way that this looks and raglans in general. I don't knit raglans very often and I want to because they're so nice. I think it looks really, really nice. My turtleneck is a little bit different than the pattern. You're supposed to knit like 12 inches or so. Mine is about 8 inches, so I think I had to take off about 4 inches. And again, it's because I was worried that I would run out of enough yarn for the sweater since I was working with only 300 grams. So this almost took an entire ball. I stopped before it really took the entire thing. And then I did my short rows in the back. So it does have short rows and I think it's perfect for this sweater. And then when the white ran out, I just did a whole big block of green and I used the green until it was gone. And then I did a couple more rows in the white and finished out the raglan increases plus the additional length that she tells you to knit. And went into the body with the white. I did not use the entire ball of white to do this middle stripe because I wanted to utilize the green in the body completely and not the sleeves. So I went ahead and I switched over to the green. And again, that's how I finished it out. I used up most of the green, but I have a little bit left. So I might see if I can do my cuffs or even just like the bind off in the green. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, it's so squishy and fun and I just love it. And I don't have many things that I've knit that are bright like this, so yeah, I'm looking forward to it. The colors are very springy, but I think it'll be a very nice winter sweater. It's very lightweight and comfortable and just so squishy. I can't get over it. And it knit up so fast, even though my hands were not loving knitting this yarn. It's nice because it's like a tube kind of yarn, so it doesn't split at all. So even if I was, you know, using my very sharp needles, I would stick it into the stitch and it would just not split, but yeah, not very comfortable. Okay, maybe I'll leave this on. I think this is the last whip I have to show you, and I'm excited about this one for many reasons. I'm holding it in this bag. This was from around the same time I did my back collection. This is mushrooms and ferns and brown Essex linen. This one sold really well and I wish I could make more of these, but the fabric website that I was using to get this Essex linen went out of business and I haven't been able to find a reliable resource for getting more of the Essex linen. So if one day it becomes available, I will happily make this. This has been my most requested bag. And I hate that I was only able to make so few Last whip that I have to show you is something I've been working on. This is something I've been working on all year. I must have cast this on in the very beginning of the year, if not at the end of last year. This is a vest, a cabled vest cardigan for my dad. And my camera settings, it's so dark. It's unfortunate because this is so beautiful, the yarn and the cables and everything. Hopefully I'm holding it in such a way that you can kind of see it. This is the back panel. Oh man, you're really not able to see it. I might try to do some color correcting here to brighten things up so you can get this gorgeous fabric. This has been blocked, so now it's like beautiful. All of the places where the stitches were maybe, you know, a little bit uneven or what have you, they really have filled in well with this non-superwash yarn. This is Cascade 220 Sport, and the color is Olive Heather, which is 9448. It's this beautiful green. My dad picked the color when I sent him a couple of options. So it's been very beautiful to knit. I've been wanting to knit something green, like this kind of green. So it's been fun to knit. And yeah, it has this very, very simple cable pattern. Very simple. The only tough thing is just keeping track of which row you're on. And if that wasn't the case, it's like it's 8 rows. I think it's 8. But there's only one row where you're having to cable. And so it's like remembering which row to cable, because, you know, simultaneously you're doing things like decreasing to shape the armholes and things like that. So I could have been done with this a long time ago, but keeping track of that has made it to where I can't just knit it. I have to have like something to track which row I'm on in front of me. I don't know. Okay, so there's been a development. This is taking me so long. This is the right front, completely done with all of like the primary knitting, and it's been blocked. I'm really sad that you can't see this. Next time that I record, this will be done. So I'll try it on and you'll get the full beauty of this sweater. Again, I'm going to hopefully color correct, but this is the right front. This is a seamed pattern, if you couldn't tell. And all that is left to do here is to pick up these held stitches where the pocket is and knit the ribbing. And then I, of course, have to sew down the pocket lining to the other side. And then I have to seam this onto the back piece, but they are blocked so that they are perfectly the same measurements, ready to go. I'm very excited to get this on. I feel like it's really going to feel like progress once these pieces are sewn together. And I also have my buttons. I got some light wooden buttons and they're very lovely. I didn't bring them, so I can't show them, but again, I'll have this done next time. This should seam up perfectly and be nice, and just I'm so happy to finally almost be done. As much as I've loved this pattern, it has been causing me a lot of stress all year. Okay, I had to stop and look at that for a second because holding them like this, I was kind of concerned that they didn't actually match lengthwise, which wouldn't make sense because I blocked them side by side and I lined it all up. It looks good. I think it's just because I'm holding it up in the air and it's not on a flat surface. So, my goodness, this is taking me a long time. I am on the left side, and today I've made a ton of progress. It just gets easier from here because now I finally reached like where I'm decreasing for the V-neck shaping, and pretty soon I'll be decreasing for the armhole, so there will be fewer and fewer stitches and it's going to get quite narrow, and then that'll be done. And so that'll be all of the primary knitting, and I feel like once that's done, the rest of it is smooth sailing because it's seaming it together, and once it's seamed together, I just pick up and do like the band and the buttonholes and then sew on the buttons, and those are all quick things that you can do in a day. So I'm really almost done with this and I can't wait for so many reasons. He wants it for October. And right now, my friend Marquita, who is here on YouTube, she is hosting a knit along that I haven't really been able to like actively participate in, but mentally, every time I'm knitting this, I'm like, I'm doing the knit along or the make along. It's also crochet or sewing, I'm sure, whatever. but it's a Vestember, so knitting a vest in September. So yeah, my goal is to get this done before October 1st. I think I'll do it as long as I focus. Okay. All right, that's yay, all the whips I had to show you. And now I'm just going to show you a couple of things that I purchased since last time. And I was hoping to do a little spotlight feature of some of the new stuff in my shop, but as per usual, I'm going to run out of time, so I won't include that portion. So as I mentioned, I am going to be doing the Stephen West Geo Gradient Mystery Knit Along after all. I was sold on the theme. He does really nice geometrical patterns, and the fact that it was a gradient and it was a geometrical pattern, I figured I could really put my trust in the process and just enjoy it. And I'm going to just start off this year and tell myself, you know, I don't have to get it done on time. It's okay. I never have with his. With others, I have no problem, but his, I don't get them done on time. And that's okay. It's no big deal. So I have a nice basket of yarn here to show you, all from Purl Soho. They had a sale recently, and I also had a coupon that they sent me directly that I was able to apply to their yarns. So I just went ahead and got 2 projects worth at once. It was a really nice discount and sale, so I was grateful for that. So in here, you could probably see some Geo Gradient skeins, and then I have a sweater's quantity of some other yarns. I will take these out and show you. I did think about dyeing my own kit for this, but I did a shop update recently, my Welcoming Autumn collection, which you can find on my website. I still need to upload a couple of things there after the show is over. But because I was dyeing for Fiber Frenzy and everything, I just didn't think I'd have time to really come up with something I loved. And so I decided to do something crazy and get this insane color palette. These are all Purl Soho linen quill, which I've knit with once before. I made a Reagan cardigan by Isabel Kramer in the pale mushroom colorway. So I know that I like the yarn. Yeah, what can I say? It's crazy and bright, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And hopefully, just the fact that this is a fun palette of something I've not really done a palette like this before, other than my Barbie sweater, which was still, it had black in it and, you know, like chartreuse, and it wasn't quite just this in your face. So I'm hoping this will just keep me going on the Mystery Knit Along. So this is the gradient in the order that I'm doing it. This first colorway I think is Peony Pink. Yeah, Peony Pink. Very subtle blushy pink. This one is Peachy Pink. I've been seeing these yarns everywhere, these particular colors. I think they've been having a moment. This one I think is Watermelon. No, Bright Flamingo. Bright Flamingo. Kind of between a pink and orange. And goodness, this one's so fun. This one is Pink Pop. I know that Yana from Finished Knitting Stories is making a half and half triangles wrap out of some of these colors. I think the Pink Joy and maybe Peachy Pink, I don't remember, but I saw them on her channel and I just love everything that she does, and so maybe that's part of where the inspiration came from, I don't know. So yeah, that's my palette. I'm excited to get started. It's gonna be fun. Now, I will say, part of me wishes, the morning, so I ordered these one evening, and then the next day, I had this moment where I really wished I had ordered a kind of a reddish, like a deep reddish pink color instead, and did like this with a deep red. In fact, I have one right here, I'll show you. This is Coats & Co., which is one of my favorite yarns that I carry in my shop. Actually, this isn't quite, no, that's kind of it. So the next day I was like, oh, kicking myself that I didn't order this instead. Something like this, their version of this. And then I thought, well, I have all this Coats & Co. I could have knit a shop sample because she has a gorgeous palette just in general, but she has colors similar to these and then this color, and I was kind of kicking myself for not making that palette from things in the shop as a sample. But that's okay. So I will have fun with these. And then I also got, for a sweaters quantity, a couple more skeins of the linen quill, and this is in the raw sienna colorway. I've really been craving like a golden brown kind of knit. I've been doing a lot of bright colors this year, so I'm really wanting something warm and comforting to knit on. So I was planning on maybe knitting the balloon sweater by Petite Knits. I used to have no problem with that. Now I've been talking about the Petite Knitter recently, and now I'm, okay, is it Petite Knit? Petite Knits. I've never been confused about that before. You know who I'm referring to. So I was thinking about doing the balloon sweater, and I picked out this mohair to go with it, with the raw sienna. This is the golden lichen colorway, and it's gorgeous, but I actually think this is quite similar to my Moon River colorway. It has that same greeny gold color. So then I thought maybe I should save this and actually pair it with some BFL skeins of Moon River that I have. I would get them down, but I'm not going to because I'm running out of time. So I don't know if I am going to pair these together or not. The picture online, I was thinking this would be a little bit more on like this, a little bit closer to this, and it's a bit more green in person than I was expecting. I still think it would be beautiful together, and actually the longer I think about it, the more I've been considering doing a cardigan with these. I really need some cardigans, some basic cardigans, but I don't know if this combo is right. I keep holding like two strands together to get an idea of how this would knit up, and really I think it's just going to end up looking like this because it's such a dominant colorway. So I might wind these up and knit a small sample and see what I think about it, because I really like this color on its own, and I could save it and they had another colorway that was probably more similar to this one, so I may save it and just do those at a later time. I can't decide, but I'm going to hopefully do that this fall. I don't know exactly what I'll be casting on, but yeah. I mean, they look lovely, but I do think this would look really nice with my Moon River colorway. So I may just do that. But I have 4 of the tussock. I failed to mention this is tussock. It's their silk mohair. I've knit with it before, and it's one of my favorite silk mohairs. It's very nice. But I have 3 of the linen quill and 4 of the tussock. So this might become something beautiful. They might split up. I don't know. And let's see. Okay, I'm going to show you my 2 fiber braids now. These again are from Maddie of Sherwood Fiber Arts, and when we were selling at the show together, I kind of couldn't resist, so I got both of these. And these, so last time I got their Rambouillet, these are both Romney, which I'm very excited because I have spun Corriedale, I've spun silk, I've spun Rambouillet, I've spun llama, Tunis sheep wool. Yeah, the list is growing, but I haven't done Romney yet, so I'm excited. I think this might spin similar to Corriedale if I had to guess based on the way that it feels. So we'll see. This one is gorgeous. I really have dreams of knitting a Noctuidae by Catherine Clark, and I want to spin the color work yarn for it. And so that pattern is full of moths, and I have been trying to decide if I'm going to do something like her original sample with more of like the Atlas moth colors and, you know, like oranges and reds and things, or if I want to do something like more Luna moth and do this kind of color palette. But actually I could end up using either of these if I, you know, depending on which direction I lean. So I'm so excited. This one is, the colorway is Pumpkin Harvest. Oh, this is actually Cheviot, which I think is not pronounced Cheviot, but that's how my brain reads it. But it's Cheviot. Chevois. I don't know. I've heard somebody say it before. I don't remember. So I'm going to call it Cheviot. But it's Pumpkin Harvest. Very lovely. And this one is the Romney. And this one is Manitua. I don't know. I love them though. They're beautiful. So I can't wait to spin these. I haven't had any spinning time recently, but I think I will soon. Okay, I have a couple more knitting related acquisitions. I can feel my voice is getting hoarse after this long day. So I got this super cute project bag. This is from Barley Pearls, and they had released a couple of, like, 2 bags that were similar to this. The other one I waited on because since I make myself project bags, I really don't buy project bags as much as I want them. I just know I could make it, and I mean, I could buy the fabric and whatnot, but I have never actually tried the Barley or seen the Barley Pearls bags, and I couldn't resist the fabric. So I missed out on the Forager, no, what was it? Warrior, I can't remember now. There was another one that had a mouse, and the mouse had a cloak and I think maybe a dagger, and it was amazing, and there were pumpkins. And the day that I ordered this, which was the other one, the hedgehog and the mushrooms, I actually messaged them and was like, are you going to restock the other one? And they said, oh yeah, today actually. So that's okay. I got this one and I love it and I treasure it, and it's so cute. So yeah, that's my little buddy right there. I've got these guys, but this is the front and center sort of view. And I paid a couple dollars extra to get this detachable wristlet fob kind of thing. I've really been enjoying that recently with project bags, especially these small ones that I can walk and knit. And let's see. This is going to rattle. Oh, this I can kind of highlight. This is a product that I carry in my shop. This is from Twice Sheared Sheep, and this is their large notion tin. This is the slide style. I also have the small hinge ones. This thing is amazing. They actually sent me this as a sample before I started carrying their products for me to test some things out, and this was the product that made me immediately order their stuff. I loved this. Anyway, this has all of my special stitch markers inside. That could be a whole video. That is something I like to collect. But I did recently get 2 autumnal stitch markers. And these are both from Lindsay of Simply Serving. Now I'm gonna set this down. So I have this adorable pumpkin stack, and I always get the stitch marker rings. She can choose when you order her markers what kind of hardware you want. So I got the ring, and so yeah, that's a pumpkin stack. And this one is a pumpkin seed packet. And my husband and I are gardeners, so I couldn't resist. And actually we have a ton of pumpkins that we've harvested already this year, and we've already eaten a lot of them, but the most beautiful ones that actually kind of look like these, I'm like, we can't eat them yet. We have to look at them for a long time. Oh. So I just looked in this bag and realized I actually have yarns in here that I've caked up, and I'm very excited to start knitting. And I also didn't show you the pockets and the lining inside this bag. It's got this like beige and cream gingham lining, and then the pockets is this forest green and mushroom fabric, and there's 2 pockets. So yeah, but I'm planning on, when I sort of catch up on some projects, I'm finally going to knit some of my yarn from my Spirited Away collection that I did. I still have a few, you can see them behind me, I still have a few Spirited Away. Those are on my website. But this is a sock set that I did based on Shihiro. So I'm very excited. I have some patterns in mind for knitting this. So I went ahead and caked it up, and I've got sock needles in here and all of that. I'm super excited to get those going. I have one more purchase to show you, and this one is actually for a quilt that I'm very excited to start. I've been really wanting to do another quilt, but you know, they're expensive, they're time consuming. I have not had much time, and my 1-year-old comes to work with me every day, and so it's really hard to recently sew or cut fabric because she's, you know, a baby. She's curious, and I can't do it around her, and so I haven't had any time. But when I have the time, I'm going to sew the most gorgeous quilt. It's called, I think it's the Rainbow Jelly, but it might be Jelly Rainbow, and I'll have it linked below, and maybe hopefully a picture up here of what it will look like. But it utilizes 1 jelly roll of fabric. Jelly rolls are 2.5-inch wide strips, and then I've got the most beautiful backing fabric. So these are all from Ruby Star Society. I've been wanting to use their fabrics for so long. They have the most beautiful fabrics. I wish I could buy them all. I just don't have the money. But I got the Firefly collection, and this one is by Sarah Watts, which is, you know, one of their fabric designers. I haven't obviously opened the jelly roll, but you can get an idea of the color palette. And this is truly gorgeous. I will also put up a picture here of each piece kind of laid out like a flat lay sort of thing that they do to show you what you'll get. But you can get an idea of just the beautiful orange and teal and purple and cream and gray palette. And then for my backing fabric, I got, this is one of the fabrics that are in here. You can kind of see it sticking out right there. But it's this stunning fabric. It's called Orchid. It's part of the Firefly collection. But I just thought this was going to be such a radiantly beautiful quilt. So I'm very excited to get to sew that when I'm able to. I probably look silly this whole time wearing this half-finished sweater, but the other one was getting too hot, so I just left this one on. Okay, friends, I think that's all I have time for. I don't know if I'll get this video edited in time before the weekend, but if I do, I will. The storefront will be closed Saturday, September 23rd, because I am going to Comic-Con. And I will be completely dressed up in my Mandalorian armor for the first time. If you've been around for a while, you probably know this about me, but I am a Star Wars cosplayer, and I have like a Shadow Trooper armor that I've worn a couple times. It's only halfway complete because the leg gear doesn't fit me. But my husband is amazing, and he makes the most incredible armor. So he, for the past few years, has had his Mandalorian suit done. And we've been working on mine for a long time, but lots of things happened. Like I had a baby, and so I was pregnant and I couldn't have worn it anyway. And so finally, you know, COVID closed cons and stuff for a while, so we didn't really have a reason to work on it. And so anyway, finally it's almost done. So this Saturday I get to wear it, and I'm so excited because something I like to do when I go to cons and I'm dressed up is take like knitting with me and wear my you know, my full armor. I'll hopefully put some pictures up. I'll definitely get better pictures at the con, and I'll put those in next time if I get this video up before we go to the con. Anyway, I like to knit and drink out of like tiny teacups and stuff in my armor, and it's gonna be fun. And my helmet, we installed a speaker and like a microphone, and I have a large speaker, and so I get to talk really loud, and people get so delighted. Kids are so delighted by that. The last time my husband and I went to a con, I was just his sidekick because I was 8 months pregnant, or 8 months pregnant. So I was kind of his handler because it's a lot to wear these suits. It's difficult. But that was his first time using the amplifier, and when kids would walk by and they would speak or something, and you know, it's hard to hear in those helmets, but I would try to get his attention, like, hey, this kid's, you know, talking to you, and he would speak into the microphone and it would just blow everybody away. So I'm excited to get to do that myself. I've been trying to think of some witty things I can say in character. I'm still working on it. Okay, thank you so much for tuning in. Happy almost autumn. It's probably autumn by the time I get this up. I have lots and lots and lots of new stuff in the shop. And actually, it smells so good in here right now because when my husband was picking up my daughter, he dropped off my new candle shipment, and I got the best autumnal candles. So those will be up on my website and in store. And also like a pumpkin lotion. It's so good. Okay, thanks guys for tuning in. I hope that you like and subscribe to my channel if you want to stick around and see more. And I can't wait to see you guys at Rhinebeck. It's going to be a blast. Okay, have fun. Bye.